We're a residential treatment facility for abused, neglected, and at-risk children. They come to live with us anywhere from 9 months, sometimes 2 to 3 years. It just really depends on the situation, trying to help them.
One of the big projects that Child Help was hoping for was security lights in a dark parking lot. We mulched some playgrounds, we cleaned out a barn full of years of bikes from the children that had left and didn't take their bikes. We landscaped their front entrance, planted a few trees, working in the library, sorting books, doing bulletin boards, organizing closets.
This is all about concern for the community, one of our cooperative principles, and it's also a great example of cooperation among cooperatives where we're coming together with our National Trade Association to help out Child Help here and to really make sure that we can lend a helping hand right here in the heart of our service territory.
I'm an REC member as well at my home, so it's really neat to see you guys not only take care of me personally at home, but to see you guys in the community and caring about these kids here. We can't thank you enough for it.
The youth tour looked like a great opportunity to meet my delegates and inform myself a bit more about the cooperative structure and just learn more about my country. And it's really cool meeting everybody from different states.
It's a huge learning experience. I've been asking so many questions to all my friends along the way. I do think I have learned more about other cooperatives. I realized there were more than just REC. Kind of got the bigger picture.
They're a lot more invested in the community when they really focus on their members. It makes me feel that I'm more connected to REC. It's insane to think that 22 counties, over 17,000 miles of line, and you know REC does it all. It's pretty cool.
REC has a very strong commitment with our community. They're very engaged. When I see them on the roads, it just gives me that comfort. It makes me feel more pride.
I've been around for 45 years. This is the first time I've ever known an electric company to do something like this.
I got to drive an electric car. That was really fun for me. We're excited to get a new tree also. It's going to be fun to go home and plant that. To actually be able to shake hands with the board members and the president and makes you feel like you are a piece of it. So that's pretty cool.
We are so grateful for the electric company and what they're doing in our community and in our area. Thank you for REC and all that they're doing.
We are REC.
We are REC.
We are REC.
I'm just delighted that the library here in Essex County is able to have this grant that's going to make such a difference.
What we're going to purchase with the grant money is a library document station. It's going to make a big difference in our community. We're very thankful for this opportunity. It wouldn't have been possible without the power of change. Knowing that it's community funded is really cool.
It really adds up and is able to provide so many extras, especially in rural communities that are on tight budgets and just don't have funding for the extra things that are really needed and improve the lives of everybody that lives in our local communities.
We have about 2 miles of trails, and we're always looking to expand and add and things like that, but we really want to revamp what we have. We asked if REC had any extra wood chips laying around that we could possibly use, and they were nice enough, and they came down, and we're really just thankful at this point. Having a great company like that within our community has just been awesome for us.
We trim trees every day, we chip brush every day, and we are often looking for places to unload chips. We give them away as a service to the community. This is a great opportunity. We serve a good portion of Louisa County, so it's great to be able to help out the high school here, maintain their trails.
We are volunteering with TACA, which is a therapeutic adventure camp, horse camp basically for children with disabilities in Orange County. It's a great program. And this is our second year volunteering for it. Love dealing with the kids. They're great. They have a lot of fun. Love seeing the smiles on their face. We're all a big community. We're all a big family. That's how I feel, and that's how I feel like being in a cooperative should feel to our members as well as our employees.
Well, we're going to make the trains run on time tonight. So, good evening and welcome. On behalf of your board of directors, it's my pleasure to welcome the members, guests, and employees to the Rappahannock Electric Cooperative annual meeting. I'm Chris Scheib, and I serve as the chairman of the board and your director from Region 2. Along with the REC leadership team, we thank you for taking the time to join us this year, both in person and those of you who may be viewing this meeting live streamed over the internet. At this time, I call the 2019 annual business meeting to order and ask for my dear friend, the Reverend Sanford Reeves, your director from Region 4, to offer our memorial, silence, and invocation.
Amen. I'd like to say good evening to everyone. Before we go to our invocation, in honor of those in our cooperative family who have passed away within the past year, please join me for a moment of reflection and remembrance of our friends and anyone you wish to keep in your thoughts and prayers. I'd like to pronounce the names at this time. Frank B. Boxley, Jr., James Fitzgerald, Marjorie Fitzgerald, Frank Corbin, Elmer O'Bannon, Richard Dick Madiak. Let us bow our heads. Amen. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity, dear Lord God, to ask your blessing upon those who impacted this great cooperative and have gone on to glory. Please continue to fill their family and friends' emptiness as they place their trust in you, O Lord. We know that it's your grace and mercy that has brought us this far. That is your grace and mercy that has kept our linemen safe from all hurt, harm, and danger as they sacrifice the comforts of their home and family, that the members of this great cooperative continue to have reliable energy. This is why we give you all the glory, all the honor, and all of the praise that you so well deserve. We know that we are our brother's keeper, therefore we ask your blessing upon those impacted by the shooting in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio, dear Lord. Please help us to understand the value and the power of love and the destructive impact of hate. Then we can move closer to being one nation under God. We ask your continued guidance for the many who are responsible in assuring that our members continue to receive safe, reliable, and affordable energy. Please bless this annual meeting that we will be united in our efforts to carry on with the business of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. Let everything be done decent and in order. We ask that in the precious name of your darling son, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Reeves. At this time, I'd like to welcome the Cooperative 2019 Youth Tour students to the stage to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Your cooperative, Rappahannock Electric Cooperative, exists to serve you, our member owners. Our mission is connecting you, our member owners, and our communities with safe, reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy solutions. The entire REC team takes great pride in working to fulfill this mission, and I want you to know that your board of directors is honored to represent you in guiding this cooperative. Tonight's meeting is very important. The annual meeting is just one aspect of your cooperative's democracy. And I would like to acknowledge and thank the membership for your participation in this election process. It's been a wonderful year, and there's been a lot of great interaction with a lot of folks. Thank you for everybody that's worked hard and stepped up as candidates and done amazing things this year. The process over the past several weeks have been highlighted in much communication, and we've participated, a lot of our members have participated, and we're very thankful for that. As a result, thousands of the cooperative owners have participated by returning their proxies to shape the co-op. I now call on the Cooperative's General Counsel, Mr. Charlie Payne, for the introduction of the board members and staff, and to facilitate the election and business portion of this 2019 annual meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Hope you're all well. Thank you for being here and participating in our annual meeting. I am the General Counsel for the Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. I'm also your parliamentarian for the annual meeting and for the elections this year. Parliamentarian is sort of a fancy word of I'm going to manage and oversee the elections and the agenda and hopefully get you out of here timely. I'm also the person who gets to announce the prizes, I think, this year. So I'm your friend, I promise. As part of this process, we'll go through the agenda, which derives from our bylaws, and we'll go through the election. We'll have reports from our officers, and then we'll go to new business, which will allow us to open the floor up to questions. During that process, I'll give a few more details, but if you're a member, we'll ask you to, and you want to ask a question, we'll ask you to stand and state your name and where you're from, and we'll go from there. Right now, I want to introduce our board members and our officers of the cooperative. First, from Region 1, your Vice Chair, Michael W. Lindsay. You please stand. From Region 2, Christopher Shipe, your Chairman. From Region 3, Darlene Carpenter. From Region 4, Sanford Reeves Jr. From Region 5, Randy Thomas. From Region 6, Linda Gray. From Region 7, Mark Wood. From Region 8, Bill Frazier. And from Region 9, last but not least, Gene Campbell. How about a big hand of applause for all of you? Your board works very diligently and hard and consciously for the best interests of your cooperative. I'm very proud to serve them. Next, your executive team. Your president and CEO, Mr. Kent Farmer. Your Chief Operating Officer and Vice President of Corporate Services, Mr. John Hua. Your Vice President of Engineering and Operations, Mr. Ron Harris. Your Vice President of Member Services and External Affairs, Mr. David Kugler. The Assistant Secretary, Cynthia Ellis. Thank you all for your service to the cooperative as well. Next, I'm going to ask that Mr. Mark Wood, our Secretary, provide his report.
Good evening. We appreciate you coming out to the meeting this afternoon. Secretary's Report 2019 Annual Meeting. The first three items as prescribed by the bylaws, Article 3, Section 7. Order of business are as follows. 1, determination of a quorum. According to Article 3, Section 4 of the bylaws of the cooperative, 2 1/2% of the members present in person or by proxy is required for a quorum. Proxies were mailed to 139,435 active accounts beginning on July 1, 2019. 2 1/2% of that figure is 3,486. Whereas there are 89 members present today and 6,946 members are represented by their proxy, we do have a quorum. 2, reading of the official meeting notice and proof of publication. The annual meeting of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative will be held on Thursday, August 22nd, 2019 at Fredericksburg Conference Center, located at 2371 Carl D. Silver Parkway in Fredericksburg. Registration will begin at 6 o'clock p.m. The business meeting will begin at 7 o'clock p.m. Notification of the annual meeting was included in the mailing of the registration and proxy designation cards to all members in July via Cooperative Living magazine. Announcements were also distributed with the electric service bills. Reading of the unapproved minutes of the previous meeting of members and the taking of necessary action thereon. Copies of the minutes of last year's annual meeting are available. Please see any staff member. If anyone would like a copy, our staff member can bring you a copy of last year's meeting member minutes. I can read the 4.5 pages of relatively fine print, or at this time, in the interest of saving time, I will entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the 2018 annual meeting and approve the minutes as written. Do I hear a motion? Do we have a second? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed by no. The ayes have it, motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Now that we have a quorum, we can move on to the election. Just some quick background on the election, and then we'll get to the voting process. There are currently 9 directors serving on your board. You've met them all this evening. 1 member from each of the cooperative's regions. These regions exist to ensure that the board represents the broad geographic diversity of the cooperative service area. Directors are elected by the entire membership, so you get to vote. All of you get to vote, irrelevant of what district or region you live in. And you may vote for all open director positions on the ballot, which are regions this evening, regions 1, 6, and 7. To provide a continuing of experience and leadership on the board, all directors' terms of election are for a period of 3 years. Each are staggered so that annually at least 3 directors are elected for a 3-year term. Nominations pursuant to our bylaws, Article 4, Section 4, are accomplished by a written petition that must be signed by no fewer than 25 members in good standing and submitted no less than 100 days prior to the annual meeting. All of the nominees, which you have seen this evening, are then publicized in the July Cooperative Living magazine. Since all nominations are accomplished well in advance, there are no nominations from the floor, as this would be a violation of our bylaws. This year, there are 2 candidates for Region 1. There are 3 candidates for Region 6, and there are 2 candidates for Region 7. When I call out your name, candidates, please stand so that we can identify you. The candidates are, from Region 1, Michael Biniak. Thank you, Mr. Biniak. From Region 1, the incumbent, Michael Lindsay. Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. From Region 6, the incumbent, Linda Gray. Also, candidate from Region 6, Andrea Miller. Also from Region 6, David Rababy. From Region 7, Dr. John Manzari. And the incumbent, Mr. Wood, Mark Wood. How about a big hand of applause for all of these. Thank you very much for your desire to serve the cooperative. Each candidate provided a written statement about themselves and their platform, and each made a video a few months prior to tonight's meeting. Those statements and videos were placed on REC's website. You've seen them here this evening. Those statements were placed again on the website, and videos have been shown here this evening in advance of the meeting. I should just stick to the script versus ad-libbing. I keep repeating myself. As part of this election process, there is a teller committee that has been appointed to oversee the election, the balloting, and the tally process. Just real quickly, the teller committee is comprised of volunteer cooperative members. Tellers oversee the balloting process during this business session and closely observe the distribution of the ballots, tallying of the ballots, and the entire voting process in general. After all the ballots have been tallied, the tellers are asked to sign a form certifying the balloting procedure was conducted fairly and impartially. So they're very important to this process. The members of this year's teller committee are Mr. Eric Paulson from Hanover County, Mr. Doug Webb from Hanover County. Thank you, Mr. Webb. Donnie Hicks from King William County. And Mike Tim from Spotsylvania County. Thank you all for your service. In addition to the Tellers Committee, the auditing firm of Adams, Jenkins, and Cheatham will oversee the voting process. Survey and Ballot Systems oversees the proxy process, and they're on site this evening. So there are several layers of oversight in place for REC's election. We will now begin the voting, and I'm going to give you some voting instructions. Member registration closed this evening at 6:45 p.m. Members who registered prior to that time have received your voting ballots. The orange ballot that you have can be found in the green folder you received at registration. We also have members who were unable to attend this meeting and chose to participate in the elections by naming another individual to act or the board of directors on their behalf, so-called proxies. The named individuals of the board are the members assigned proxy in this election and will receive a proxy ballot. I will now call by name those who are present and have a proxy ballot to cast for another member. If your name is called, please stand and remain standing until an employee brings you a proxy packet. Do I have the list? For those who received a proxy ballot, again, you have been named as a proxy by one or more of the members of REC. Chris? I promise you there's a list. Okay. I'll explain the proxy voting process real quick. For those who received a proxy ballot, in which I will name here in a minute, again, you have been named as proxy by one or more members of REC. If the member who named you as their proxy selected candidates for the vote, you will see the vote has been marked for their selected candidates. If a member did not select a candidate, the vote will be blank on the proxy ballot. You must clearly mark the box next to the candidate of your choice to cast their vote. With your signature on the form, these votes will be cast. And I'm still trying to buy myself some more time. Anybody got any good lawyer jokes? I've heard them all, I promise. Including from my parents, of all people. I mean.
Charlotte, we can go ahead, I think, with the member vote, and then we can do the proxy vote.
Yeah, I tell you, that's a good idea. We'll go ahead and for the members who are here and let them vote, and then we'll collect those votes. So at this time, we will ask members with orange ballots and all members, again, once you get your proxy, to cast your votes. If you, please complete your orange ballot, and a employee will go row by row to pick up those ballots. Remember, you can only vote for one candidate in each region, but you can vote for all regions this evening. Again, 1, 6, and 7. Please make sure your voting ballots are marked clearly, and please remember you must sign your proxy ballot in order for it to be valid when you get it. Please hold your ballots. Again, a ballot collector will come by row. Raise it when you've done voting. You only sign the proxy ballot. If you're a member here voting, you don't need to sign. I'm sorry, you need this? Yeah. I'm going to let them collect first from the members who have voted. All members present have voted, and your votes will be picked up, ballots be picked up. Okay, looks like we've collected all our member ballots. Okay, now for the proxy holders in attendance. First, Board of Directors. Ms. Andrea Miller. Mr. Christopher Shipe. Ms. Darlene Carpenter. Mr. Gene Campbell. Mr. Mark Wood. Mr. Dr. Manzari, John Manzari. Mr. Kent Farmer. Ms. Linda Gray. Mr. Michael Biniak. Mr. Michael Murphy. Mr. Michael Lindsay. Miss Ophelia Scott. Ms. Scott, right back here. Mr. Randy Thomas. Mr. Sanford Reeves. Mr. Seth Hield. And Mr. Bill Fraser. Just as a reminder, you may only vote for one candidate in each region, but you can vote for each region. Make sure your voting ballots are marked clearly, and please remember you must sign your proxy ballot in order for it to be valid. Have we collected all the ballots? Thank you, everyone, and apologize for the little hiccup there. One more ballot. That's everybody. Thank you again. The election results will be announced prior to adjournment and will also be posted on our website, which is www.myrec.coop. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the election. Next on the agenda is the introduction of guests. Mr. Kent Farmer.
Thank you, Charlie. Good evening, folks. I'm Ken Farmer, President and CEO of Rappahannock Electric. Each year, in addition to our members, there are invited guests who join us in support of the cooperative, and I'd like to take just a moment to thank those individuals and their organizations for their time and support. It is a rather long list, though, so I would ask you to hold your applause until I've gone through all of it. Tonight, from our legislators, Chris Snyder, who's the senior advisor to Senator Bryce Reeves, is here or was here earlier. I think he had another meeting he was going to have to skip out to. From Old Dominion Electric Cooperative, our power supplier, we've got Davis Falk and Kirk Johnson. If you all will stand so that folks can kind of look around and see who you are, I appreciate that. From our state association, the Virginia, Maryland, Delaware State Association, we have Richard Johnstone, Brian Mosier, Steve Johnson, and the chairman of our state association, Mr. Bob Jones from Mecklenburg Electric Cooperative. From Chop Tank Electric Cooperative, one of our sister co-ops over in Maryland, we have Mike Melandro, who's the CEO of Chop Tank, as well as the chairman of their board, Mr. Jeff Rathel. We appreciate you folks being here as well. We also have some very special folks with us tonight, our sign language interpreters, Kelly Dulesky and Helen Blysick. Thank you guys very much. From our Care Charity Board, that's the folks that decide where the dollars that you all contribute to our Operation Roundup go. Ms. Donna Douglas, thank you for being here. Former co-op employees or officers that have retired, Mr. Craig Lewis, our former CFO, Mr. Frank Andrews, former vice president, and one of our longest serving employees, Mr. Tommy Upshaw, is with us tonight as well. The Tellers Committee, I think, has already been introduced to you, but again, we want to thank Eric Paulson, Doug Webb, Donnie Hicks, and Mike Tim for being here and helping us with that process. And we also have Mickey Smith, who is the photography Smiths. You see Mike walking around taking pictures. We appreciate you being here with us too, Mike. Mickey. And lastly, I want to take a moment to introduce you to Rappahannock Electric's 2019 Youth Tour students. Each year, students apply to attend the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association's Youth Tour in Washington, D.C. This is a unique opportunity because they are given access to tour areas of our nation's capital and meet with legislators like those of us with us here tonight. This year we took 10 students: Kaylin Campbell, Jose Martinez, Nicholas Coates, Tommy Garlock, Cindy Ramirez, Nick Goudot, Jerry Morris, Kevin Wang, Henry Wood. Several of those are here tonight, so for those of you from the youth tour, please stand. Thank you very much. The 10th student, Joseph Flynn, was selected during the trip to represent the state of Virginia at NRECA's Youth Leadership Council. The purpose of the Youth Leadership Council is to build leadership and public speaking skills and to enhance the delegates' knowledge of the energy industry and the cooperative form of business. We are honored that Joseph was selected to represent REC, our members, and our state. As a part of his youth tour leadership council duties tonight, Joseph will join us on the stage to give a speech about what inspired him on his youth tour trip. Please join me in welcoming Joseph to the stage.
Way too many papers. Good evening. On a day like today, we can all give thanks for the cold air that fills this room. While we come from different backgrounds, different towns, and different places in life, we all have one thing in common: gratitude for the luxuries of life made possible by electricity. Lights, running water, medical equipment, 2 big televisions, and yes, even cell phones. It's easy to forget, but life hasn't always been this simple in the communities we call home. Less than a century ago, people in rural America lived their lives a step behind those in cities. They were essentially left behind because setting poles, stringing wire, and providing electricity along country roads was deemed too expensive. Fortunately, on May 18th, 1933, all that changed. On that date, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the Tennessee Valley Authority Act. This act allowed the TVA Board of Directors to provide electricity to rural areas that did not have access to any. Then, 2 years later, in 1935, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order Number 7037, establishing the Rural Electrification Agency, the REA. The REA was created to address the problem that, even in the late 1930s and into the early 1940s, 9 out of 10 farms did not have access to electricity. In 1937, the REA passed the Electric Cooperative Corporation Act. This act allowed states to adopt it to create not-for-profit electric cooperatives. The act proved extremely successful, and within 20 years, over 90% of farms had access to electricity. One of the major reasons that electricity became important on farms was the United States' involvement in World War II. Many people know of the massive mobilization of the industrial industry to provide our troops with the weapons and machines of war. But what many people forget is that we had to feed the troops we were sending overseas. In the 3 years and 8 months that the United States was involved in the war, over 16 million soldiers fought. That equates to feeding roughly 5 million soldiers a year. Imagine if our farms had to do that without electricity. In 1945, when the war ended and the greatest generation returned home, the U.S. agricultural industry was in full swing. With advances in farming machinery and money pouring into the economy, the United States was on its way to becoming the breadbasket of the world. As the economy continued to grow, so did opportunity for youth to get involved in their community. In a speech at the NRECA annual meeting in 1957, then Senator Lyndon B. Johnson talked about sending youth to Washington to learn how policymaking works in our nation's capital. A few years later, the youth tour was formed. The first youth tour served around 130 youth. Today, it serves over 1,800 youth from 43 different states. It's easy to trace the history of electric cooperatives and the youth tour, but what's not always easy to understand is the impact of electric cooperatives on our lives. In March 2002, a premature infant born 3 months early, weighing only 1 pound 6 ounces, was able to go home from the hospital with his father, mother, and twin brother. The machines that monitored his heart rate, pulse, and oxygen levels were able to function thanks to electricity provided by their local cooperative. Those same monitors would save his twin brother's life 3 weeks later when he began to experience respiratory distress. The monitor signaled the alarm to take the infant to the emergency department where he was admitted to pediatric intensive care. Every day, thousands of people with complex medical needs are able to remain in their rural homes thanks to electricity provided by their cooperatives. It is essential that cooperatives continue to exist. The youth tour has helped me to understand that as a future leader in America, I have a responsibility to work to ensure the continued existence of electric cooperatives. The knowledge I have gained will allow me to do just this. I would like to thank the REC and the NRECA for this experience. And on behalf of my twin brother and me, thank you for our lives.
An incredible speech and story. Thank you very much. Next is our chairman's report. Mr. Shipe.
That's kind of hard to follow. Hey. Wow. Well, and you're not here to hear a bunch of long speeches, but I just have a few remarks for you this evening. I want to begin to say what an amazing year it was this last year for your electric co-op. I have the incredible honor and privilege of serving on the REC Board of Directors. The job of an REC board member is one that includes a lot of work that continually and steadfastly seeks to serve the interest of all our member owners by finding the right balance in our decisions. That balance includes ensuring our rates are affordable while working to maintain strong reliability, and while also always trying to find the right balance when we maintain and enhance our wonderful corporate culture of serving you, our member owners. Finding the right balance can be challenging at times, but is one of the most rewarding and fulfilling experiences I have ever had. A little background on me. Like all the members of the Board of Directors, I am served by, and I am grateful and thankful to be a member of the Rappahannock Electric Co-op. I applied to join the REC board when REC acquired the former Allegheny service territory about 10 years ago. I'm motivated to serve on this board because I believe very strongly in the cooperative business model to deliver essential services like electricity. I'm also very motivated to serve on this board to ensure that all our members' owners' interests are properly represented. It's especially important to me that we serve those member owners who may be economically disadvantaged. I want to make sure they have a voice at the Rappahannock board table. Together with all our board members, I feel that we successfully find the right balance for all our member owners. And I look forward to continuing to serve so that REC can continue to have a positive impact in our industry as well as our local communities. I want to take a moment on behalf of the entire Board of Directors to thank REC's amazing staff and executive leadership team. They are caring people who do an outstanding job of serving us. They take time to continue to engage with you and our communities, and through their industry service are making a positive impact well beyond the REC service territory. The REC's culture of outstanding service from caring people starts at the top. REC President and CEO Kent Farmer has led this cooperative for the last 15 years, and under his leadership, REC has not only become one of the largest co-ops in Virginia, it has also become one of the most innovative. REC serves as an industry best practice leader, and electric co-ops from all over the nation, and yes, even around the world, regularly look at your electric co-op for guidance and help. Kent's expertise and dedication to the electric co-op industry has also earned him leadership roles in some of our major industry organizations. Kent currently serves as the chairman of ODEC, which is our wholesale power supplier. He also serves on the National Rural Utilities Cooperative Finance Corporation, also known as CFC, where he is the board president. Likewise, Kent demonstrates his personal commitment to our local communities through his service on many local boards and charitable organizations that serve you and give back to our communities. Kent also is always available to our member owners, and he serves on the board of the business school at the University of Mary Washington, where he encouraged them to start programs on the cooperative business model. Thank you, Kent, for both your service to our industry and our communities. As part of our commitment to be accessible to all our members, this year Kent and I once again hosted a telephone town hall meeting. During this meeting, thousands of our member owners joined us, and Kent answered questions live. REC will host another one of these meetings next week. Kent and I were also able to meet with hundreds of our members at a recent Get Connected event in Frederick, Virginia, up in Frederick County, Virginia. It was a great event. It was wonderful to see so many people. You know, one of the members who attended the event noted, it's not often that your local power company hosts a member appreciation event where you can speak not only face-to-face with the board members, but also your CEO. You know what? I don't think you get that opportunity if you were a Dominion customer. So, REC's strong leadership and expertise does not stop with Kent. Your vice presidents, John Hua, David Kugler, and Ron Harris represent your cooperative on local, state, and national boards. They lead organizations focused on renewable energy, grid technology, and energy efficiency, as well as local community and charitable organizations that make a difference in all our communities. Once again, thank you, Ron. Thank you, David. Thank you, John, for your service to our co-op and your service to our communities. I would also be remiss to not recognize the outstanding dedication and service of the men and women who make up the REC workforce. I know their hard work, especially during your time of need in a major power outage, does not go unnoticed. I know this because we regularly receive letters, we regularly receive emails, and also posts on social media telling us about the wonderful job that the caring people at REC are doing. Please don't stop letting us know about your experiences. And also, we do listen and we care about your feedback. It matters not only to the board, but it certainly matters to all our members of the REC workforce. As part of our strong commitment to listen to you, our members, here are just a few examples of what we've done because of your feedback over the last year. Almost every one of us was affected by the severe weather events this year. If you didn't experience a power outage, you were lucky because the extent of the damage from multiple storms during the past year was severe. To support the efforts of the REC workforce to improve reliability, your board of directors approved additional dollars to increase the number of crews assigned to do preventive work and also to fund the use of additional equipment to make the process even more efficient. Reliability is very important to us. As you heard from Mr. Thomas during the Treasurer's report, we have added a governance and document center to the REC website, and that's www.myrec.coop, not .com or .org, it's .coop. Many members want to access to important information about your cooperative. You know, it's always been available, but we've made it much more accessible and easier to find on the website. We'll be continually updating and enhancing this area to ensure that we continue to maintain the highest levels of transparency and good governance for all our members. You know, something else that's been very important to our members is rural broadband. Rural broadband connectivity is a real issue affecting all our communities. While we can't solely solve this issue, your board approved a fiber utility network initiative to improve the communication between the REC facilities. That program launched this year and it's starting to roll. Hopefully in September we'll be starting to string some fiber. And Kent will elaborate more on that, on what we're doing, how it serves as a common sense way to bring broadband to you in rural Virginia. While we've also been focusing over the past year and over the last several years on renewable energy. more specifically solar generation. We approved the launch of Cooperative SunShare, which now has hundreds of member owners, including me, enrolled and purchasing thousands of kilowatt hours of renewable energy. This effort allows member owners to do their part to make even more solar available in Virginia. In addition, your board of directors, the REC staff, work with state legislatures and many different stakeholders to expand the possibility for net metering. As of July 1st, the potential for consumer-owned net metering increased by 500% within the REC service area. This means more REC members can now install their own renewable generation systems and connect to REC through our net metering program. Please know, your board of directors is working on your behalf to continually find the right balance while always keeping you, our member owners, at the top of our mind. And also, please know that your REC board of directors is a working board. We study issues. We learn about the latest developments in the industry. We monitor your feedback. We discuss issues, and we make important decisions that affect you. We take our roles and our responsibilities as a board very seriously, and we do so with the utmost professionalism. Once again, I am incredibly thankful and grateful for the wonderful opportunity you, our members, have given me to serve on this REC board. REC is truly an amazing organization. It's led by local people and caring local employees. They're all committed to serving you, our member owners, with outstanding service. We are REC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is our Treasurer's Report, which is from Randy Thomas, which has been pre-recorded.
Good evening. I'm Randy Thomas, your board member from Region 5 and the board treasurer. The board of directors is pleased to inform you that Rappahannock Electric Cooperative continued its tradition of strong financial performance in 2018. Revenue in 2018 was $447 million, about $73 million more than the previous year. The main reason for the increase in revenue were higher energy rates and greater energy usage. 67% of revenue came from residential members. The remainder came from commercial members and a small amount from public buildings. Our total expenses were $431 million. Total expenses were higher in 2018 due mainly to the increased cost of power. 68% of our expenses were to purchase power. This was $294 million. Since this is a large percentage of our expenses, your management team spends considerable effort to control this cost. When you subtract expenses from revenue, what you have left are margins. Total margins are composed of operating and non-operating margins. Operating margins in 2018 were $15.3 million, up 152% from 2017. Non-operating margins were $6 million. Most of the non-operating margins are patronage capital from Old Dominion Electric Cooperative. Total margins in 2018 were approximately $21 million. Each year's margins are allocated to your capital credit account the following year. 2018 margins of $21.3 million will be allocated this year. Margins will be distributed proportionally to members across all classes of membership. 79% will go to residential, 10% to large commercial, and 9% to small commercial. The remaining 2% will be assigned to other member groups such as public buildings and outdoor lighting. At the end of 2018, REC's total equity was slightly more than $406 million. This is the total of all REC members' active and inactive capital credit accounts. These funds have been reinvested to improve the electric distribution system, as you can see behind me. They are the members' equity investments in substations, poles, transformers, and other equipment. In 2018, REC returned $7.9 million to its members through estate and general retirements of capital credits. A general retirement is based on the accumulated value of capital credits assigned to your account since you first became a member of the cooperative. Since its formation in 1980, your cooperative has returned nearly $105 million to its members. Rappahannock Electric Cooperative completed 2018 in a strong financial position. If you would like additional information concerning REC's financial position, the audited financial statements can be found on our website, myrec.coop, under the Document Center tab. Thank you for coming out to your annual meeting. We are REC.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Next is the President's report. Mr. Kent Farmer.
Thank you again, Charlie, and thank you, Mr. Shipe and Randy, for those good reports. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to be here with you tonight to celebrate not only our accomplishments of 2018, but also the 80 years of delivering safe, reliable, and affordable electricity to you, our member owners. REC is a very special organization that does so many wonderful things for the communities we serve. Each year, our employees coordinate and participate in over 300 events supporting our 22 counties. At those events, we're educating our member owners on energy efficiency, electric safety, as well as new technologies changing the way that we use energy, such as electric vehicles and renewable resources. Our employees have visited dozens of schools, going into the classroom to read to students, present electric safety demonstrations, participate in STEM events, and to share information about career opportunities at our co-op. Since May of last year, your cooperative has awarded scholarships to 40 students to further their education, whether it be college, trade schools, graduate schools, or others. In addition, we've also sponsored 18 students on tours to Washington, D.C., which you all have already seen some examples of that. These young people get to see government in action and get to realize how they become part of our society through their interaction with government. And you, REC's member owners, have made the impact we have on our communities even stronger. Over 20,000 of you are participating in the power of change. Excuse me. Contributing through your electric payments to support charitable organizations that in turn support our communities. The impact of those donations equaled in excess of $90,000 in 2018. And we anticipate that the contributions in 2019 are going to be even higher. For those of you who haven't signed up for the Power of Change program, please take a few minutes, look at the information on our website, and enroll. On average, you're contributing roughly $6 a year. But when you multiply that times the hundreds of thousands of members that we serve, that adds up to a lot of money that goes back into our communities that ultimately impact helping us all. Again, we are REC. Me, you, Board of Directors, the employees, our communities. We are REC. You might be saying, well, what does that mean exactly? Well, what it means exactly is that we are all in this together. REC is your member-owned, locally managed, member-focused neighborhood cooperative. We are your local electric cooperative, but we also want you to understand that we're $1 billion corporation. That's right, B with a billion with a B. The work we do to ensure you have the power you need when you need it, with exceptional member service, value-added products, all of those decisions, all of that is done with your best interest in mind, and we do so in a fiscally responsible manner. As you heard from the Treasurer's report, the financial condition of our cooperative is sound and secure today and well into the future. The employees at REC, myself included, have the opportunity to wake up every morning knowing that the service we're delivering to you, electricity, is powering your everyday lives, your businesses, schools, hospitals. We are powering your future. What an amazing responsibility we have to provide a service that is so valuable. And even though electric service is valuable and necessary in almost everything we do, we know that it's a service that easily goes unnoticed. It usually stays unnoticed until a power outage occurs. And tonight I want to talk a little bit more about that. Over the past 18 months, we've experienced more severe weather events, sometimes back-to-back, that have had a major impact on our reliability. The weather events range from heavy wet snow and ice to high winds, major flooding, and summer storms with strong winds and lightning, like we've had every night this week. All of that has occurred during periods of annual rainfall that have set records. This heavy rain weakens the ability for tree roots to withstand the wind, and it also causes trees and other vegetation to grow at record paces. When power outages occur, we are just as upset as you are. Our employees are always ready to respond and work around the clock if necessary to restore power as quickly and as safely as possible. But even more important than restoring outages is finding ways to prevent them. That's why we have embarked on an unprecedented effort this year to proactively minimize potential hazards on our electric system. As Chairman Shipe stated, this year your board of directors included budget increases that gave us the ability to add additional crews as well as equipment to manage the vegetation growth that we're seeing. Our field workforces are out there doing yeoman's work, but it's a battle, especially when we've got the type of growth activity that we're seeing. We can't control the weather, but what we can do is everything possible to minimize the risk that weather has on your service reliability. This year, we modified our mission statement. And while the words are different, it maintains the focus that has led our organization since it began. That mission, connecting our members and communities with safe, affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy solutions. Let me read that again. Connecting our members and communities with safe, affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy solutions. Those are the words that guide every action and decision that we take at Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. And even though we know many of our member owners go through each day without thinking about us, of course, unless there's a power outage, we want you to know we spend every day thinking about you. We consider the impact we have on your lives. When a soon-to-be new member contacts us to get their electric service connected for the first time, from January 2018 until July of this year, we've connected over 5,000 new homes and businesses. What a tremendous impact on homeowners and businesses that we've been allowed to have. Today, we serve almost 170,000 connections and nearly 140,000 member owners. But our connection to our member owners extends beyond just connecting your home and businesses to electricity. Our connections allow you to connect to your community, and our connections can help you connect to the world. Again, as Mr. Shipe mentioned, we know broadband access is lacking in many of the communities that we serve. Not only is that a concern for you, but it's also a concern for REC. It affects our ability to efficiently and securely operate our electric system. And to address this issue, REC has committed to a fiber network program that will connect all of our offices, all of our substations with this network. But as I've said in the past, we're overbuilding that network, and we're overbuilding it to be able to offer it to third-party businesses to do the last mile so that we can get you connected to the internet. Because once connected, you will find that you have a lot more options and ways to communicate and find out more information about your cooperative. We want to be the on-ramp to getting you to the information superhighway. In addition to our efforts to increase reliability and connect you with valued products and services, we have also been busy securing sustainable, stable, dependable, and economical long-term sources of wholesale power. Old Dominion Electric Cooperative, which is our power supplier, is a cooperative of co-ops. The co-ops in Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware came together and formed Old Dominion to give us the buying power and the negotiating strength that we needed to provide you with wholesale power at the most reasonable cost. Old Dominion this year brought on Wildcat Point, which is a super efficient, clean, 1,000 megawatt gas-fired generating station. The addition of Wildcat Point to ODEC's portfolio of generation resources will be able to meet the growing electricity needs of co-op members for years into the future. While at the same time, ODEC is also increasing its use of renewables and recently just announced a goal of adding 30 megawatts of additional solar generation that will be located in each of the 11 member systems of Old Dominion over the next year. Your cooperative is very involved and focused on the transformation that's taking place within the industry. The way electricity is generated, transmitted, and consumed. You all have probably read about the many solar facilities that are trying to be licensed and installed in Virginia. We've also got battery storage. Battery storage technology is going to be the key to being able to maximize the use of renewable resources. And we are on track to have battery storage technology commercially viable, not only on a utility scale, but also at the home and business level. And we are also on the cusp of exciting new electric vehicles being introduced. And let me share with you just some of the innovative things REC is doing in this area as guided by the latest strategic plan adopted by your board of directors. From a utility perspective, again, Old Dominion, in providing our wholesale power, is doing more in the distributed energy resource arena. Rappahannock is doing its own energy storage project, trying to understand exactly how this battery technology works and how we can utilize that technology to improve our reliability, but also drive down our wholesale power cost. REC also has an electric vehicle team focused on learning as much as we can about electric vehicles so that we can provide you with that information if you have questions. Think about it like this. It's not going to be too long in the future that you're going to be looking to REC to provide you the fuel for your vehicle. And from a member perspective, REC has been engaged with the legislation process to increase the amount of renewable resources that can be used. I think you heard in Mr. Shipe's comment, we increased that by 500% effective July 1st of this year. That's to make it easier for you as individuals and businesses to install renewable resources at your facilities and work with the co-op to help manage that for you. In addition to the steps that we're taking at the co-op along those lines, we're also very much engaged in the energy transformation at a state and national level. As Mr. Scheid mentioned, your executive team serves on the boards of many organizations working on the evolution that's taking place within the energy industry. Just a few examples. Our VPs serve on the board of directors of the Virginia Energy Efficiency Council, the Smart Electric Power Association, the Energy Storage Association, and GridWise Alliance. So not only are we taking this knowledge and information and trying to improve the services that we provide to you, but we're also being instrumental in shaping how these new technologies are going to be introduced to you for your benefit. 2018 was quite a year for REC. Our success is not only launching a new initiative like the Fiber Utility Network and providing you power when you need it, but is also evidenced by the significant impact we have in all of our communities. As a member-owned co-op, all of you played an important role in making REC and our communities stronger. We are proud of our employees who work around the clock to restore power, but most of all, we're appreciative of your patience when the power goes off. From the handwritten notes that we receive to the cookies or the coffee that you leave out for our crews when they're out there working in the snow and ice to get your power back on, we are REC. Each of these successes has many member-owner stories behind them. It is the result of working together to set a shared vision for our cooperative and taking steps necessary to carry out that vision. When that serves as a basis for what we do, good things happen. We will continue to share with you the milestones and successes of our employees and the parts that they play in making your communities better places to live. As always, we appreciate the support of our member owners and we welcome your feedback. We want to know from you how we're doing. We look forward to continuing to serve you and hope you will embrace the We Are REC philosophy and continue to be an active part of your electric cooperative. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer. Next on our agenda is unfinished business, but there is none, so we're going to move to new business. This is the part of the meeting where we open the floor for questions from our membership. And we have microphones in the aisles here. If you want to be recognized, please raise your hand, state your name and where you're from. Please limit your questions to 2 minutes. And I think we're going to get going here. Are you guys ready? Okay. That was quick. Dr. Manzari, you're first in line.
Yes. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask some questions. But before I do that, I'd like to, as a candidate, thank REC for streamlining the ability for me to submit an application and become a candidate. The staff was very helpful in processing the paperwork, and the 3 of you on the stage did a great job with the tutorial. And Charlie, thank you for working with me and getting the names and addresses of the entire membership. Unfortunately, I also have some concerns, and I would like to give a short discussion of the content and the reason that I'm proposing the 3 questions, and I'll be quick with them. That list of members that was given to me that had addresses and could be sorted was not valuable to me because it did not have phone numbers and it did not have email addresses. Just to clarify, 139,000 members sending out a document at $2 or $3 or $4 a piece would have cost me $500,000. And that's not a good way to communicate. I thought that it would be a good idea to advertise in cooperative living. I asked the question, and after several weeks, I was told that candidates could not submit any kind of advertisement. I submit to you that there's a lot of advertisement in cooperative living. I follow the whole issue of hay because I have a farm with a cow-calf operation. I buy hay. That hay is processed and it produces, some people would think metaphorically, political language. So my question is, will you work with cooperative living and allow candidates to advertise?
I'll be happy to take that question, Dr. Manzari. We try to not make the magazine political. And that's why we don't do political advertisements in the magazine. You are absolutely correct. We do sell advertisements to the magazine. That's how it's funded. That's how we keep the rates low. But we try to stay away from political advertisements within that, because in your case, there are some folks who can afford those advertisements, and others they may not be able to. And so, quite frankly, we would just as soon try to keep that playing field as level as possible for all potential candidates.
Just remember, speech is free, and you should be allowing that advertisement to take place. I'd like to talk to you further about it, and it should not be what a person can afford. Those ads are really affordable, and if you can advertise for hay and other things, you ought to be able to advertise for a political process. And remember, getting a document to 139,000 people is a $500,000 project. The second question is one about democracy. It's a tenet of cooperatives, and it has three parts to it. It has participation, deliberation, and equal votes. I listened to the proxy submissions a little earlier. You got 6,000 proxies, which equates to a 5% participation. I think that's terrible. It doesn't speak highly of a democracy. And I think a part of the problem is the deliberation piece. And I don't think we are free enough with information about key parts of the strategic plan, minutes of meetings, policies, plans, programs. And if we did I guess I say more transparency, I think we would have an increased transparency, increased participation. And the last part of this question centers around the fact that a 9-member board tends to elect itself. And I'm asking the question, will you be more transparent with documents like the strategic plan, minutes, et cetera? And will you review the 9-member board that votes itself, which I think is a conflict of interest?
A couple things. Again, appreciate your comments. Just want to back up a little bit. First off, this year, we have made this process even more open and more modern than ever before. We produced, at our cost, professional videos for all the candidates that were up on the REC website. Gave incredible exposure to all the candidates. Also, for free, you get an ad in Cooperative Living. So we put everybody's candidate statement, everybody's photo in Cooperative Living. So it's all the same for everybody. As far as the strategic plan and all these items, yes, we're working on all that stuff to get it out in the Governance Center. We're very transparent. And here's the unspoken thing Dr. Manzari is referring to when we say re-elect ourselves. That's absolutely false. What happens is our members give us proxies. They have faith in the board, okay? If they didn't have faith in the board, they can designate those proxies to someone else. It's very simple. And obviously, and this year, it's been amazing. Let me tell you, the folks from Repower, you are be commended. You worked very hard. There were robocalls. There were Facebook ads. There were editorials in virtually every paper in our service territory. So I totally reject any assertion that the process was not open, that there wasn't a lot of transparency, and there wasn't a lot of information out there. Never before, at least in my experience, has there been this much work. And you guys are to be commended. I commend you. But I do reject your assertion that this was not transparent and this was not open. There was plenty of opportunity for everybody. And once again, I thank you. I commend you for all your hard work. If our members don't feel their board is doing a good job, they have every right to designate their proxy to someone else. It's very open, it's very easy, it's very explained.
Thank you. Let me finish with the third question, which I think is probably the more important one to me. REC is not going far enough or fast enough with internet connectivity. The hub that you talk about is important for the business plan. I think that's a great idea. It's going to help you administer the electric usage. However, I think you need to be heading towards fiber to the house. That's FTTH. And I believe you have the chief executive here of Mecklenburg. Did I understand that correctly, or an official from Mecklenburg?
You do have an official here from Mecklenburg. But Dr. Manzari,
Well, let me just finish the question. Mecklenburg is one of the 4 Virginia cooperatives that's going to be doing FTTH. The Central Virginia Electric Cooperative, Mecklenburg, Craig, and Prince George. And that's the way we should be going. We should be connecting our clients, our customers, our owners, directly to the house with fiber optics. It's not good enough to have the hub. Are you going to be looking at FTTH? And if you're not, will you show us the study that says it's not financially feasible?
We'd be happy to share that study and information. We've been working to try to deliver broadband to our members for the last decade. Our studies indicate that in order for us to do fiber to the home would cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of $800 million to $1 billion, or equivalent to what we've got invested in the electric system. The difference, however, is that broadband is not a regulated utility. It is a competitive service. Broadband also utilizes equipment that depreciates or becomes obsolescent in a 3 to 5 year period of time. As stewards of our members' money, we didn't feel like that was a prudent investment. We don't want to gamble with our members' money. But what we are doing is working with local governments, both at the local level, at the state level, and at the national level. We believe that the ultimate solution to get broadband to our members is going to be a public-private partnership endeavor. And we're working very hard with our legislators to move that forward. Some of our fellow co-ops, like you mentioned, have made the decision to go forward faster than what we have. And I wish them all the luck in the world. As a matter of fact, we are talking with Central Virginia to potentially work with them so that perhaps through their subsidiary and our fiber utility network, we can do more. But I'll also share with you all some additional information, such as what's going on in technology in general in that space. Microsoft is working today to get permission and authority to launch thousands of low space satellites to be able to provide broadband to rural areas through a wireless network. And again, quite frankly, I'm not sure it makes sense for us to invest your money to provide you the fiber to the home, that if that technology proves itself would mean that all of that investment that we made on your behalf would be a sunk cost. So again, we are trying desperately every way we know to be part of the solution. But we don't believe that us committing to running fiber to the home is financially viable, and as such, our intention would not be to pursue that at this juncture. If something changes along the way that changes those scenarios that I've just spelled out, then we will take another look.
Without connecting our members directly by fiber optics to the internet, with connectivity, we are spiraling the rural community right into poverty.
I don't disagree with that, Dr. Manzari, but that's not the charge of this cooperative.
Thank you, Dr. Manzari. And just as a reminder, it's trying to limit the comments to 2 minutes, not necessarily 2 minutes per question, but just so we can have everybody have a chance to speak. Mr. Heald.
Good evening. My name is Seth Heald. I'm from Culpeper County. First, I want to thank the REC staff. I had occasion in the hot water program that helps the co-op reduce cost on peak days by controlling my water heater. And what a member gets in return is the co-op will come and help with repairs. This year our water heater stopped working. We called the customer service. Everybody was great. Very competent electricians came quite quickly, and our water heater was fixed again at no charge to us. And tonight I talked to a staff member about the outage we had last night for 2 hours. He told me all about how they're looking for ways to spotlight where those are and get them fixed fast. So I really commend the hardworking employees of the co-op. I do have a concern though, and it's about the election process. I think most members of the co-op probably don't realize that these blank member undesignated proxies for the last 5 or more years have constituted more than half of the total votes. And those proxies are controlled by the board, which means the board does control election outcomes unless a challenger is able to not only get more votes than that board candidate gets from people who vote, but gets an extra 3,000 to 4,000 votes to overcome the blank proxies. I think it's an unfair system. I think the co-op, and it's the board's responsibility, not the management. I think the board should change that and come up with a more fair system. And what I learned this summer is that I figured out how there are so many of these blank proxies, which is that people who go in to pay their bill in cash or to otherwise deal with a person in an REC office are given a form, a ballot, and said, you can vote right here, you can win a prize, you can leave it blank. And that's what happens, and I think I've seen it happen with my own eyes. I talked to a woman on July 1st, the very first day that the ballots arrived in the mail, and she said she'd already voted because she'd gone in to pay her bill in cash. That's when a lot of Social Security recipients get paid. And she said she was told to vote right there. And she hadn't even gotten her magazine. So it's great that you have these videos. It's great that you've got more material that people can see. But why on earth is the cooperative pushing people to vote before they've even had a chance to see that stuff? It's really unfair. You've got to stop that.
Thank you. Ms. Miller. I don't know. You guys Ms. Miller, I'm sorry, you've been standing there for a while.
Oh, I'm just fine. So again, I want to say that I am delighted to be an REC member. I told a couple of people my Dominion story, but I do have one concern, and my concern is about governance. And here's my concern. When I was interviewed by the board, I asked a very direct question. Does REC have mandatory term limits? And I was assured that yes, you did. Board members can serve 5 terms. 5 times 3 is 15. Yet there are currently board members who have served more than 15 years. And I am challenging an incumbent who's been there 20. Please explain how mandatory isn't exactly mandatory.
That's quite easy. The directors that were on the board before that policy was adopted have been grandfathered. Every director that's been elected, such as myself and Mr. Lindsay, since that policy has been directed, is subject to the term limits. Your statement is absolutely accurate. The directors that were elected before that policy was adopted can serve more than those terms. However, they said since that policy was adopted, they would serve no more than 5 terms. So from that day forward, they would only serve those 5 terms.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm David Jenkins from Port Royal, Assistant Chief of the Volunteer Fire Company there, and also member of the Caroline County Regional Fire School Board or Committee. And I'd like to publicly thank Mr. Farmer and the co-op for supporting the school this year. We had a funding glitch at the last minute, and they came through and allowed us to continue in our 25th year presenting the Regional Fire School. And we look forward to working with them in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a comment. I would like to say thank you to REC as a co-op for providing me the amazing opportunity and the 9 other youth to go on youth tour and to experience all that DC has, to meet other students from all over the United States, from 42 different states besides ours, and just see everyone's different life experiences, that we can all come together and have a commonality in co-ops, and that it's an experience that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Thank you. I bet you that young man has some proud parents. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, sir. I'd love to talk a little bit about renewable energy and cooperative sunshare, but I won't. I will share, though, that my electric bill last year was $297.83, thanks to the power of the sun. I'd like to talk about rural broadband, but I won't. My wife did text me during the meeting and say I can't stream the meeting. It's raining in Boston, Virginia, and when it rains, as most of you know, your satellite system doesn't work. So there's no streaming in Boston tonight. But I would like to mention the Governance Center. And to that end, I would like to say I am a proud REC member, and I'm a proud member owner. And I am also proud to be a part of Repower REC. Because when Mr. Scheidt mentioned the Governance Center, and he talked about it's always available, I had to scratch my head and say, I'm not sure where it's been, because I think it is member input, whether it's adversarial or not, that has pushed this electric cooperative to where it is today. 2 years ago, it was a real different conversation in this room. 2 years ago, we weren't talking about solar, at least from the dais. We were talking about how bad solar was or how we weren't supporting solar. It's a total different conversation. And I think that's great, because I think we need to look toward the future. But I also think as much work as the board has done, and as much work as some members of the administrative staff have done, there's a lot of room to go. For instance, in the Real REC Candidates webpage, there was a quote that said Mr. Lindsay was proud to serve or served on the Virginia board of the Action Committee for Rural Electrification. Raise your hand if you've heard of that committee. Anybody? Besides Mr. Lindsay? One person. Thank you, ma'am. So you have one person out of 100, 2 people, 3 people. The hands are coming up. That's great. But I've never seen any mention of this committee. I don't know what it does. I don't know what it's for. And that's just one small example. A transparent cooperative would help us understand all those things, from capital credits up and down, all the things that you've talked about, Mr. Scheib and Mr. Farmer. Those are great things. We need to talk. We need to have dialogue. We need to have conversation. And until we can create an electric cooperative where more than 3 or 4 or 5% of the people are involved, that dialogue is not going to take place. And let's face it, electricity is not sexy. If you paid $50 last month for your electric bill and it's $53 this month, you don't really notice it. You don't really care. I care. I look at it every day. I can tell you how many kilowatt hours I use before breakfast. It's important to me just like it's important to you, because if you're one of the Americans that usually spends 1,000 kilowatt hours per month for electricity, unless we change the game, your bills are going up, not down. I'll take my $297 bill, yearly bill, by the way, any day of the week. Thank you.
Sir. Yes, sir.
My name's Rocky Kales. I'm from Amosville, Culpeper County. I attended a meeting several years ago and was kind of talked down to, but with the same question. The Old Dominion Power Company that we purchase our power from yearly, is that the only company we're allowed to purchase from?
No, sir, it is not.
Then why hasn't it been discussed to look at other power companies at cheaper costs? Why isn't it put out on an open bid to other companies so they can bid to give us power at a cheaper cost? Because I've just noticed something. In this meeting tonight, our power cost went up 3 times higher than what it was last year. 150%, right there on your own diagram. Why?
Well, part of the reason why the power costs went up, it wasn't the actual kilowatt charge that went up, it was actually the usage. So, and
no, it showed our cost to buy the power.
Excuse me.
Indeed,
Excuse
we
me.
bought more power.
Excuse me. We're going to have a respectful forum.
I'm
here,
sorry, sir.
okay?
Indeed,
Mr.
no,
Shite, respond.
the per kilowatt charge for power did not increase. The amount of power we bought, it was a hotter summer, it was a colder winter, so we bought more power, so it cost more. But the actual per kilowatt charge did not go up.
Okay. That was a good question, fairly good answer. I'll take it. But I want to go back to the Old Dominion thing. Why do we go? Are we locked into a long-term contract or something to buy from them only?
We do have a long-term power requirements contract with Old Dominion.
And how long is that term?
That term was for 40 years, and it was established, probably renewed within the last 10 years. And the reason for those 40-year contracts is because when you build a power plant, such as the Wildcat Point Power Plant, you have to finance those facilities. And in order to finance a power plant such as that, you have to have a commitment. Banks aren't going to lend a company like Old Dominion money to build a plant if they don't have a consistent revenue stream to be able to fund the debt associated with that. But let me expand, if you will, just a little bit on that. Again, when we first started as co-ops, each of us had our own individual agreements, typically with an investor-owned utility to purchase power. And what we found was that each of those member systems had different terms and conditions. We had different prices. And so the co-ops in Virginia and Maryland and Delaware got together and said, you know, if we pooled our power needs resources, it would give us a substantial opportunity to better negotiate prices, to better negotiate contracts, and those types of things. And that has proven itself time and time again. One of the things that we battle a little bit in today's society is that the wholesale power market has become deregulated and become competitive. And so on any given day, you can look to the market to see what is that cost of power. And on any given day, it could be cheaper or more expensive than what we are charging or what we are paying. But what we're trying to do is to prevent you, the end-use customer, from seeing your bills spike up and spike down based on whatever weather conditions may be out there at the time. Again, as an example, back, I think it was in, help me guys, 2014, we had the polar vortex, where we didn't have enough power to supply all the needs within the East Coast footprint that we operate in. Power prices went as high as $9,000 a megawatt hour. What that computes to is 90 cents or per megawatt hour, or I think maybe $9 per megawatt or per kilowatt hour, compared to the 12 cents that the average consumer pays today. So what we are trying to do is to create a hedge, if you will, against future spikes within the cost of power. So those are the reasons why we have the contracts in place. It provides us with stable and affordable power into the future. Whereas if we were on the spot market on a daily basis, there would be no way that we could guarantee you reasonable prices or affordable prices under those scenarios.
So you mentioned the 40-year contract that we had with them. Is that our, if they want, as a wholesaler, if they want to sell power to us, why should we guarantee them 40-year service when, you know, at X number of dollars per kilowatt hour or whatever it is, when we can go next door, say, to Dominion Power and buy it for 1/4 the cost without a 40-year contract.
Well, you can't get it for 1/4 of the cost, for one thing.
That's just an example, sir.
Yeah, but my point is that's not available right now.
Would Dominion Power also ask for a 40-year contract?
If they're building plants to supply us, the answer is yes.
Well, they obviously don't need to build the plants. They already got the plants established. And you just mentioned the plant that went online just came on in the last 10 years. So what happened to that first 40-year contract?
Well, again,
how many plants did they put online for us?
They put on, we own 11.9% of both of the nuclear units at North Anna. We own 50% of a coal-fired plant down in Halifax County. We own 100% of 2 peaking facilities, one in Fauquier County and another one in Louisa, as well as contracts that Old Dominion has negotiated for us to buy both wind power and solar power from within the market.
Okay. Well, I just hope, I'd like to see my power bill go down some. I don't know how it's going to happen. I live in a regular, you know, moderate house. My power bill went up by $130 from last month to this month.
Again,
that's, although it's cheaper this year than what I used last year. I don't know why, but you know.
Well, again, it's because of what we pay. That's part of being a co-op, is that we're not in this business to make a profit. We're in this business to provide you with reliable and affordable electricity. And I think when you compare the rates that Rappahannock charges to its members to any other utility across the state, you'll find that our rates are extremely competitive. Okay. And we do everything that we can every day to operate our system as efficiently as we can to hopefully be able to continue to give you lower prices. But let's talk about price of electricity for just 1 second. The average residential consumer uses somewhere in the neighborhood of less than 100 kilowatt hours a day, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 to 1,200 kilowatt hours a month. What it costs you for electricity on a single day averages less than what you would pay for a cup of Starbucks coffee. Think about that for 1 second. Well, when you're considering the value of what electricity gives you on a daily basis.
Well, I'll tell you this much. My power bill, I just paid $388 for a month. That's a whole lot of Starbucks.
It is.
You know, and it goes from 200 to 388 in a month's time, and I haven't changed anything. You know, I've got all LED light bulbs. My thermostat's been set there, is set in the same way. I've got an energy efficient, you know, units in the house. Nothing's changed except the price that I paid went up to $388. So I'm having a hard time dealing with it.
I would always ask you to look at your kilowatt hour consumption on a month-by-month basis.
I try to do that.
And with the new Smart Hub application that you have on the website, you can track how much usage that you're doing, as Mr. Murphy pointed out, on a daily basis, almost on an hourly basis. And so, not to mention the fact that we would appreciate you giving us a call. We'd be happy to come out and walk through your home with you to try to identify any areas where we think we could help you save money.
Representatives of RAC has come to my house twice. They, you know, when the electronic meters came out, they came out and changed the meters. Came back again and put another meter in. They went through the house. I've done everything that they could tell me to do. You know, I'm retired. I'm disabled. A lot of people in here are retired on you know, limited income, but you know, these power bills keep eating me alive. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in here, am I? Am I the only one in here? So.
Sir, we certainly appreciate your comments
well,
tonight.
I appreciate the answer about the 40-year contract. That clears up a little bit stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess just would like to finish up that please know we do work very hard to maintain affordability for everyone, and we will work with anyone on energy efficiency, and we take costs of power very, very seriously. And so please know that the board and all the staff at REC is very, very committed to keeping your power as affordable as possible.
Thank you. And just a quick reminder, just want to limit the comments, not that we don't appreciate your comments, but there's other folks who want to get home and hear results, and this young man has been standing for a while. So, sir, I know you have a question.
My name is Richard Sumner. I'm a resident of Ruther Glen in Caroline County, and I appreciate the safe, reliable power that REC provides. However, I've talked this year to some other co-op members in my community, and they agree with me that the current system of proxy voting in board elections is confusing. Why doesn't the board make this easier by allowing direct voting for the candidates of our choice without having to use confusing proxy forms? Simple question, guys.
Simple answer, you can. Go to your website and you can vote online, fill out your proxy and vote online. We've tried to make that as simple as possible. We've communicated it in the Cooperative Living magazine. We've communicated it in bill inserts. We've communicated it in our advertisements. But you can do, sir, exactly what you're asking to do simply by going to the website and on Smart Hub to do that.
But the proxy votes have swung the last 2 years' elections, it looked to me like, you know, where the board of directors designate the proxy for existing incumbent members. Is that?
That's not necessarily the way that works. The board of directors exercises their rights that have been given to them by the membership. The board doesn't vote any proxy that hasn't been assigned to them by a member. Our process is as democratic as possible. We provide every single member with a ballot to be able to vote. They can do it by mailing in the proxy. They can do it by coming to the meeting. They can do it by dropping off their proxy at the office. The process is as simple and as democratic as it can be. Now, granted, perhaps not the results are not always what everyone would like for them to be, but the process itself is democratic.
Why aren't the proxies allocated in the percentage that folks got in the election? You know, the actual votes they got. Why are the proxies not taken in that proportion?
The proxies it's quite simple. The proxies are designated by the members. What the members say to us as the board is, board, we trust you to vote this. We understand you understand the issues. It's no different than most community banks, many stocks, that the members say, once again, and we try and make this very open, and this year again, as Kent alluded to, we actually allow you to vote online, so we make it very easy. If the members did not have the confidence of the board to exercise their vote, they can simply designate the proxy to whomever.
Do you believe that's clearly explained in the Cooperative Living magazine about the proxy process?
Well, and quite honestly, on the proxy form itself, being someone who's intimately aware of these proxies and how they work, I mean, the number one goal is participation. We want everyone to participate, without a doubt. Number two, we've got to meet our quorum requirements of 2.5% so we can even have this meeting and vote. Number three, the proxy form is clear. Either you assign someone or clearly it goes to the board of directors. It's that simple. And many, many members trust the board of directors to make that decision. We'd love to have more participation. You help us do that, we'd love to work with you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Bill Dant from Boston, Virginia, Rappahannock County. I sit on the county's advisory committee for broadband, reporting to the County Board of Supervisors. First, I'd like to say that I've lived a lot of places in my life. The last 10 years I've been happy to live in Rappahannock County and to be a member owner of REC. And there's no place I've lived that has provided me with a kind of reliability of service and technical sort of advanced planning. And I live in 15 acres of wooded land with plenty of opportunities to lose power on any storm day, but it's quickly restored when it rarely happens. While I'm very, very disappointed to learn that the board supported the recommendation that last mile provision of internet service to member owners was denied, despite the tradition of rural electrification. When those substations were set up back in the 1930s and 40s, they didn't stop at the substation. They went right to the user. Perhaps you'll reconsider that, or the new board will do so in a year or so. In the meantime, the governor's office for internet support, Commonwealth Connect, is offering rural counties the opportunity to get support for that last mile service. Those grants, which will become available this fall, and should the state legislature approve next year's funding, will be given out on an annual basis, require that there be public-private support in the grant. So without having the confidence to make the investment that other cooperatives are making in the state for last mile support for internet, I'd like to strongly encourage you to consider supporting those REC-supported counties with public-private partnership support so that they can get these really, really needed grants to allow that last mile provision. Thank you.
We are doing exactly that.
We're very, very committed to this. The difference between the REC, the rural electric provisions of the 1930s, and broadband is we were allowed as a monopoly. We were the only entity that would service the last mile. That's not the case with rural broadband. We can invest in a lot of infrastructure, and then again, these low-level satellites being put up could be put up, and all that sunk cost would be gone. So,
I would just like to note that our own research on low-level satellites is that within a year or two of circling around the Earth, they fall back down.
And who knows, right? Who knows what's going to happen? Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. And just a quick reminder, it's getting late in the evening, and we've got the results. We want to announce those and get to the prizes, and I know people want to get home, but ma'am, please.
I will try to keep it brief. I'm Angie Cowenhoven, and I'm from Culpeper. I hope that you will consider some of the things that have been brought up tonight, because for those of us, especially the proxy vote, for those of us who do have concerns, we're concerned that you're not hearing what we have to say by voting for who you want. So when you get those votes, you get to use them to vote yourself back in. So voices like the ones who have concerns aren't being heard. But here's my question. Will you consider changing your rules for capital credits? And the reason I ask is years ago I went through a divorce, and I found out that through capital credits I had over $800. I cannot get it back. This is what I was explained. This was how it was explained to me. I cannot get that back, nor can my ex. When I die, then it would go to him. Then when he dies, it goes to whomever. I believe the way you handle it is it's put it in your newspaper for about 30 days. He has no children. I have no children. I don't know how in the world we'd ever find out who would get that money. So I'm wondering if you all will consider changing how you do capital credits.
We are currently looking at that because we recognize that that's a problem with joint accounts. Today, if a husband and wife jointly sign the account and unfortunately have to go through what you do, typically that is taken care of in the divorce settlement. But we're writing a check to somebody or giving credit to someone every year on those capital credits that you have. The issue of estate retirements is that if there is still money left in your capital credit account when you die, that money then gets paid out to whomever that beneficiary is. But we annually are retiring capital credits to whomever the account's name is in.
Okay, I'm probably misunderstand. So you're saying there is a way that I can get that money? Because I was told, so maybe even your representatives need to understand what's going on, because that's how I was told. Neither one of us would ever get that money.
That's not the case at all. So I'll be happy to talk to you on specifics after the meeting if you'd
And
like.
one more quick thing with capital credits. Also, would you also consider this year, my husband and I've remarried, and we have done a great job getting our bills down very, very low, so that when capital credits were given out this year, I didn't get one because we didn't qualify for enough money. We were under a certain rate. I don't think that's fair. I don't care if it's $5, it's mine, I should get it. So I was told, nope, we reinvest it because you didn't get enough.
Again, I'll be happy to talk to you on the specifics of that, but your retirement is based on your cumulative capital credit account, not just on what you used this year.
I think as more people find out about capital credits, they're going, when more people start hearing this, I think you're going to have a problem. So I hope that you will consider changing things. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Jesse Gordon from Hanover County. I appreciate you all hosting us every year. And I am a father of 3 kids, so it's a little challenging to get up here an hour away. So I appreciate you adding the digital online voting process this year. It certainly helps, I think, those in my situation, because I think I'm in the minority here as far as who can come for attendance, and given kid schedules, et cetera, it can be a challenge. And I look forward to the trend of reducing the barriers and adding transparency to the voting process. I think that's important. I'm not sure that we need to continue the electoral college approach, if you will, for the proxy process. And being working for a publicly traded company, I respect that there are many different ways to do such a thing. And so I look forward to additional advancements as we go forward. I do have a question. I live in an area where a lot of trains roll through, some of them bearing coal from the west and headed east. And so, and I apologize, as I'm getting older, I find I have to write stuff down. So I'm going to read off of this note real quick. Now that our current administration has rolled back carbon emission limits for power plants, is ODEC going to be building new coal power plants? For example, will the old, or in some cases, repowering? For example, will the old discontinued Cypress Creek coal plant project be resurrected? And I have a second question after that.
The answer to the first question is not at this time, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we won't build coal coal plants in the future. If we can master carbon capture technology to where we can utilize that abundant natural resource safely and cleanly, then I would say we'll try to figure out how to do that as well.
Okay. And the second, kind of on that note, are REC's 2 representatives on the ODEC board urging more coal power plants? And Christopher, if you could speak to that since you're on the board.
Actually, Mr. Shipe isn't on the board. It's myself and Mrs. Carpenter represent REC on the Old Dominion board. And we are not in favor of doing new coal at this point.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy,
Mr. Payne,
this will be, make it quick, please, if you don't mind. We got, this gentleman right here has not asked a question yet.
Please, let him go first, please.
Thank you. Last year I had a concern about my power availability, or it kept going out all the time. It seemed like every time it rained, I lost power. Since last year, Ron Harris and Robbie Beard actually came out and addressed the issue, and since then we've had substantial and noticeable increase in power reliability. So one, I want to thank you all, especially Robbie Beard, who actually stopped by my house and say, hey, how things going? I've been told recently he just retired. So again, thank you, because it sure made a difference, and you did jump on it right away. So that often doesn't happen. But again, thank you for that. My question is, I was also a Novak customer before I came Rappahannock, and I don't know about the rates between the two, but it seems like sometimes cooperatives have different rates. Do you often compare our rates to other cooperative rates and see what the difference is, and if others are lower, kind of benchmark what they're doing?
Absolutely. We're constantly looking at our fellow co-ops to see if they've figured out a better mousetrap than we have, because that's also one of the benefits of being a cooperative. We work with each other, and if one of us figures out how to do something better than the other, we share that information with each other. So the answer to your question is yes, we're constantly evaluating each other's rates and each other's processes and trying to figure out how we can copy what the other is doing if it is in fact a better mousetrap. I will tell you though, in comparing our system to Northern Virginia's, it's a little bit difficult, and the reason that it's difficult is Northern Virginia serves, I think, either 4 or 5 counties in their service territory. They also are in Northern Virginia, which means that the density of their service territory is somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 times what the density in Rappahannock's service territory is. In other words, they may be serving 25 customers per mile of line compared to our 10 customers per mile of line. That impacts the distribution component of your bill. The higher density, the more customers you have to spread those fixed costs over, will cause those components of their rate to be lower than ours. However, they are not part of Old Dominion. They do some of their own purchasing, and so in comparison to what they're paying in wholesale rates to what we're paying, ours are a little better than theirs. So when you look at all of that stuff combined, our rates are very comparable to Northern Virginia's.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy, you're going to be the last one to ask a question. If you could make it quick, that'd be great. It's almost 9 o'clock.
30 seconds, no response needed. One annual meeting, 132,000 members, give or take, 60,000 Smart Hub users, give or take, 6,000 to 7,000 proxy votes, give or take, and a hell of a lot better door prizes than there were last year. There's something wrong with this occasion. Mr. Payne, you extended the offer. We would love to help you get out to vote. We are Repower REC. We will dialogue with your board anytime you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. That will end our new business. Now we have the results from the election. For Region 1, the winner is Mr. Michael Lindsay with 4,925 votes. Region 6, the winner is Ms. Linda Gray with 4,641 votes. In Region 7, the winner is Mr. Mark Wood with 4,708 votes. Congratulations to you all. Thank you. Mr. Heald, you're out of order. Please sit.
Point of order, are you going to announce the totals for all the candidates?
I don't have those with me yet. I only have the winners and the numbers.
We will have those on the website.
Right. Yes, ma'am. You have the door prizes. If I call your name, please stand up and get your reward. Winner of the flat screen smart TV is Karen Ingram of Riva, Virginia. Are you here? Winner of the Nest programmable thermostat is Miss Ophelia Scott, Woodford, Virginia. Yeah, I knew you were here. Congratulations, Miss Scott. The winner of the $250 grocery gift card is Philip Adams, Berryville. Are you here, Mr. Adams? If they're not here, they still win. The winner of the Lydia Mountain Weekend Getaway, Penny Glasgow, Culpeper. All right, congratulations. The winner of the Kings Dominion season passes is Tina Robinson of Rockville. Are you here, Tina? And the winner of the portable generator is Tracy Humoller of Missville, Virginia. Are you here, Tracy? Congratulations to all our winners. Thank you. That is the end of our program this evening. I need a motion to adjourn. And a second? All those in favor vote by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Be careful driving home, and thank you for your participation.